Nebraska is on the road for only the second time this season, and not only is this Indiana team ranked 16th in the nation, the Huskers themselves have quietly re-entered the top 25. Gary, Indiana seems pretty physically tough to me, and not just in the trenches, I'm talking skill players included. They look great at play action plays, which I remember hurting Nebraska against Illinois. And they're 6-0. But I'm not getting the impression that you're very worried going into this game versus Indiana.
It's not that I'm not worried or that I think it's going to be a walkthrough game by any stretch. I wouldn't be surprised at either whoever wins. It's just watching them from a stylistic standpoint. I think the things that Nebraska tends to struggle with isn't the things they really hang their hats on. Saying that, they're clearly good, right? They're 6-0, but they've blown teams out. And there's a lot of people, myself included, when we first started talking, like, yeah, who have they really played? They just started getting into their Big Ten play. 3 of the last 4 games was UCLA, Maryland, and Northwestern. Still looked really good against those teams. Not, I don't want this to come off like I'm taking anything away from Indiana at all, but they haven't played really solid defenses or really good, powerful type of offenses, or, high flying type of offenses. Northwestern's defense, I think they're giving up like 19 a game. I think that's the best defense that they've played all year. And Maryland's offense was doing pretty well. I think they're top 50, 45, 46, somewhere around there. Saying that, Nebraska's offense hasn't done much. They've had halves where they looked really good, and we feel like we know what they're capable of. I hate to keep in on repeat every time, but it's like, are we finally going to get a complete game? But where I do have some confidence is I think even if we get a half out of our offense, if our defense looks anything like it did the majority of the game against Illinois, the whole game against Purdue, the whole game against Rutgers, I think we're going to be fine. Stylistically, though, they're not really like those teams, in my opinion. They're more like Colorado, where they kind of spread things out. Their run game's much better than Colorado's. I think their front line's better than Colorado's. They don't have the dynamic playmakers at quarterback and receiver positions that Colorado had. I'm not saying they're slouches by any stretch. They're all very good. They have talent all over the field. Quarterback's real careful with the ball. He only has 2 turnovers on the year. Both of them were against Maryland. Nebraska's defense, it frustrates me, like, the bend but don't break style. But the results are the results, right? So, I mean, I could see these guys throwing for a decent percentage and a lot of yards, but still not scoring. Nebraska's going to focus on the run. So, to your point, a play action is going to be something they have to be very careful of. On the other side, I think we're going to have trouble running the ball. That is the strong point of their defense, statistically at least, and even watching a lot of those games, they do a good job against the run. My other point when we were talking as well, though, is when you're blowing teams out by double digit and more scores in the second half, you're not getting a ton of run defense or attempts by the opponent. So to me, there's a little bit to be seen from them before I'm looking at them like, okay, they're a real threat in the Big Ten. You know what I mean? I think I could see their season and their record drastically changing this second half as they get in to the tougher parts of the Big Ten schedule. And maybe not. Maybe that's just, it's worked out for them. They've won the way they have because they are so good, and you can only play who's on the schedule, right? So again, I don't want to come off like I'm taking anything away from them, but like when we're looking at the spread as of tonight, it was like 6.5. Indiana's favored by, I get the home field advantage thing, but I think it'll be a close game for sure. I think it's crazy that a team that has, I mean, I rattled off the rankings just by yards per game, both offense and defense, and their teams, they've played, their opponents have been in the 200s and the upper 100s as far as ranking in yards allowed on defense and yards produced on offense. So I think it's going to be a real test for them, and I think it's going to come down to, can Raiola stay clean, both by the line keeping him clean, not having balls behind receivers, things like that, because I think the pass is kind of going to be the key as much as Rule and them want to get the run going. I think Raiola has kind of showed in his last couple games that he's not nearly as accurate or as comfortable when he's under pressure. So I think you're going to have teams really trying to stop the run, get a guy or two here and there that, in addition to your front four, try and get pressure on him and force him to beat us under pressure. And I think as far as us on defense, I think a lot of that 7-yard kind of range is going to be there for him on a lot of the passes. But as we've seen, as the field shortens up, the defense gets tighter. The only, or one of the only, I can't remember, teams that hasn't given up a rushing touchdown. So, I mean, just to kind of put into perspective how much tighter the defense gets, with their passing game the way it is, and me extra wide receivers, they go, this could be a perfect situation for Nebraska where you've had Buford and Zaire Wright playing corner as well as they've been playing. When going into the season, they talked about it be the two Hills most likely as your 1 and 2 corners, and now Bly Hill is supposedly healthy and ready to go. They think Tommy will be, but they've thought that for the last couple games. But you would hope with that bye, you have the potential to rotate or use 3-4 of at the beginning of the year we thought could be starting corners to go up against that. But I think the pass rush for Nebraska is I know it's going to be unlike any pass rush they've seen against the defenses they played this year. And I'm curious to see how clean, comfortable their quarterback is, kind of inverse of what I said, what I think they'll try to present for Raiola.
I really think that this is going to come down to which version of our defense shows up. They've been really good lately, but the more I look at this game, and you mention they're a Colorado-esque team with a better line, slightly less high-end talent of skill players, but still very talented. It's just, you're not Travis Hunter. Sorry. Will we stop the run and bust through the line the way that we did versus Colorado and Purdue and Rutgers? Are we going to be the defensive line that doesn't get penetration, doesn't stop the run like what happened against UNI and Illinois? Obviously, I'm hoping for the prior. I just think that's what the game will come down to because they don't scare either of us with their defense, so we should be able to score enough to win. But can we stop them? Because they haven't had a game where they scored less than 31 points. I know it's been not an impressive strength of schedule, but still, they're having no problem putting up points, so we're going to have to be the first team to stop them from doing that.
Illinois' running back is, if not the best, definitely top running back in the Big Ten. And that was his worst game, was against Nebraska, right? Maccabee has eaten Nebraska alive most of his career, and he was shut down by that defense. I know it's kind of a hypothetical, but to answer your question of will we be able to do the same things that we did to Colorado? No, because their offensive line's better and their run game's better. So I don't think you have the carefree, if they run, they run, but we're pinning our ears back and going after the quarterback every time. But he is that style where he'll move in the pocket like Shedeur, typically won't run downfield too much. They might change that up, knowing that's a huge weakness for that defense. But I also disagree. I don't know that it's just a foregone conclusion we'll be able to score a lot on them.
I don't mean to say a lot. I just mean just enough. If that's 17, great. We only put up 14 against Rutgers.
For sure. Yeah. No, I know what you mean, but I'm saying Nebraska's offense is showing you in flurries what they're capable of doing, and then they go dormant for quarters or halves, So I have a lot of confidence the defense will figure out, if whatever their game plan is going in doesn't look great for a drive or maybe two, either early on or at any point in the game. Tony White showed us against Rutgers, he's not married to anything. He ran different formations, different base packages, more than just changing up personnel and play calling. So I feel very confident in what the defense will do. I'm going to throw a number out, and I'm not cocky about it all. I'm going to say 24-17 Nebraska.
I think I'm seeing a higher scoring game. I'm going to go 35-28 Nebraska. I think they will score, but we will. And I think our defense will get more stops and or turnovers.
I think if Indiana gets into the 20s scoring on our defense, we lose the game. It's not that I don't think our offense can score. It's that we haven't seen them put it together. And the games we've won, as close as they've been, people have complained they haven't been big enough wins or things like that. I don't know that if the defense is struggling that much to where they're giving up 3 or 4 touchdowns in a game, that the offense is going to be able to just stay in flow and in rhythm and go toe-to-toe with them.
Tell us your score predictions in the comments. We'll see you Saturday for the live stream, early 11 a.m. Till then, go Big Red.